Hello, welcome back to Roadwarden. Hopefully we can find our fourth party member today and get out to the island. But I'm just thinking who we could pick up for our fourth. Maybe the guy that's sitting on the gate? I don't think he's much of a fighter, but maybe. Otherwise, we're going to have to hire one of the two hunters, either the trapper or the archer. I'd rather have the archer, even though they're more expensive. Let's go to the gate and see if they want to come along. Even just having an extra pair of hands would help, honestly. Have you ever heard about High Island? Yeah, I heard alright. You can see its volcano from old Pagos. Monk said it's a weird place, but also a tale for the worthy. You ask him if he knows this tale. He glances in the direction of his home. Nah. Is it worth going to the hideout? Probably not, but we'll go through. I should be able to spend the night here, I think. Have you heard anything about High Island? This again. There's some lair of Roadwardens. Her response is as quick as a whip. Don't waste my time. If you want me to help you find a Asterion, be useful. Okay. About the spying you wanted me to do. Any advice on getting on the locals' good sides? She rests her hands on her knees, looking ahead in silence. Right, they're a harsh tribe with hardship and hungry years behind them. They will listen only to the strong and gritty, unless... She once again hesitates, and carries on as she's surprised to hear her own voice. Not all of them agree with their necromancer, Arentius. Their warlock, Virus, lives in the peat field, divided with his people, with a soul as firm as a shield. No threat nor begging will move him an inch. No. There's not a whole lot I can do, honestly. Might as well just quick load, honestly. Go straight back to Howler's Dell, I think would be ideal. Need to figure out a quick way to make some money. Also pretty low on food rations as well. We gossip for a bit. There we go. Curious locals gather around, take part in your conversation. Recently 3 kids had a pretty severe fever, but the druids have managed to keep it under control. Good druids. Nope, the druid's not coming with me. No, don't need Bion for anything. Main square. Akakios. What do you have for sale? Fabric and a battle axe. Nothing to sell. Nothing for now. I should have a fishing trap set up somewhere, right? Oh, I never did that. At the old stone bridge, okay. Are there any old-time sailors around? I'd like to ask them a few questions. All our sailors are old-time sailors. Now, our soul here has seen a ship in years. He starts with a chuckle, but then nods towards an elderly man who's resting by the table, rolling an empty mug and mumbling to himself. Go with him. How much are rations? 1. Okay. Thanks. Approach the old sailor. He doesn't notice your approach until you sit down opposite him. He raises his chin. One of his eyes is brown, while the other is white from blindness. Having only one ear, a broken nose, and a constantly open mouth, looks like a soul at the end of a painful journey. But his voice is more amused than tired. And who fell here on my very own plate? You're the, the kid of... He pauses, leaning a bit forward. Nah, I've not seen you before. You come to buy me a strong mug. You need a few breaths to get through his thick accent, additionally distorted by his lack of teeth. Don't your neighbours give you your own share of ale? Maybe they do. You find it difficult to tell if you see a smile or a grimace of pain. But after all my years of hard work, all it took was one accident to lump me together with the cripple and the idol. I even apologise for the burnt barrels. Somehow, no matter what our Mia does, she never faces consequences. He purses his lips, clicks his tongue, and tries to straighten up. Can you tell me anything about High Island? He wipes his drawling mouth with his sleeve. His clothes are simple, but clean and tidy. Do you not know? It is not allowed to land there, a dangerous place, and a hurtful memory. Why hurtful? Long before any of us was born, 'twas a home of an old tribe, one who lived close to the land and spirits, but was chased and trapped like a hunted boar, and through no fault of their own, they were strong but alone, could not stop the emperors and their brigands. He tilts his head and narrows his living eye. You know what? You sound like a city folk. I'm from Hovlavin, but through no fault of my own. What a decent heart you have. His weak wheeze carries a hint of amusement. After all the days I spent meeting souls from the farthest parts of the land, I'm not one to judge one for where they came from. Different thing if you were tied to that place. That den of greed. He raises the empty mug and looks inside, and lets out a sigh. I just need to know how to reach the island. You really have nothing better to do? No lovers to bed with, no bread to smell, no meat to drink? He puts his arm on the table, then his cheek on top of it. His voice is getting tired, so you lean forward to hear him. Start with this. Reach the island after dusk from the east. You'll not miss it. The volcano has been smoking for decades now, and many say it hides the treasures of old tribes. The island's walls are so tall you cannot climb them, but with the night's high tide you'll reach an old port hidden behind a waterfall. Do all this. He pauses and wipes his wrinkled lips. We'll just pay for a ship in the city. Your tallest fortress, that's what you need. Have you ever landed on the island? He raises his head just enough to peek into his empty mug. I cannot recall much. We were desperate, hungry and hurt, and did what we could to survive. That night was a nightmare, and only I ever woke up. He lowers his head again, and closes his eyes. The dead one remains half open. And up. Alright. It was no new information, but it was nice to double check it, I guess. Talk to the mayor. Guard informs you that she needs to look for her, so you stand around and wait for what feels like an eternity. When Thesis joins you, she neither says a word nor takes a seat. Oof. Nope. This is blocked off. Okay. So, the only quests I really have are get the fish from Gale Rocks down to the Elder's Cave and put the sign up. We really can't do anything about White Marshes because they just don't want anything to do with me. Okay, just sleep, I guess. Can't even sleep yet. Can't get here before nightfall. Abandoned watchtower. Oh, we could try gamble, I guess. Yeah, it's just quick save and then do a bunch of gambling. Rush the guards. How about some axe throwing? Ready when you are. Ah, already played today. Okay. But does that change? +3, okay. Don't have enough. Okay, that puts me up to 7. Yeah, we can sleep here for the night. The small room is quiet and far away from unwanted eyes. You take a calm bath, rest on a soft mattress, look through the window and enjoy the minutes of safety. In the morning you find a stall with a large wooden plate bearing an aromatic breakfast. A bowl of oatmeal based on ibex milk, with berries, nuts and honey. Downstairs the innkeeper is looking towards the man you found at the shortcut. His voice is thoughtful. Weird times, I was hoping to learn more about the bandits, and now one of them is right here, drinking my ale. Too bad he doesn't talk. He glances towards you. He said he knows you, that you face some beasts. I mean, coin is coin, but couldn't you bring me some merchants instead? Take a look at the main hall. Julia, how are you? She smiles and rests her ankle on her knee. Hey there. Yeah, could you join my expedition? Mostly forgotten about Asterion, and I've had my share of beasts lately. Already. The officials would appreciate your report from the island. They can shove it. He leans away. Unless they're going to send me to a village with tall walls, I'm about to quit. A long pause. Fine. I don't know if you're trustworthy, but you're capable, that's for sure. Count me in. Oh, an actual fighter. Thanks, Tula. Well, that. That's all 4 party members for me. They've got some axe throwing. +3. Good. Nice. Alright. That's enough faffing about. Go to Howler's Dell. Into the village. Main square. Innkeeper. Buy rations. There we go. 7 more to do me. Thanks. Inventory. Eat. Quick save. Leave. Travel. Need exactly 4 people with you, and so far 4 souls would be willing to join you. To prepare with crew, you need to start preparations in the morning. Yep, gather my crew. I have a whole crew. You and your companion shove the boat into the water. You take a deep breath of the chilling air. You adjust your clothes, and even the second layer is barely enough to keep you warm in the breeze. You stare into the night and listen to the roaring waves. The seagulls jump between the teeth-like rocks, seeking food and rest, unaware of Ephraim's hungry glances. You look around. Sodal is hidden inside a Gidea's cabin, but you doubt it's going to have a good sleep. Turn towards the others. Got any questions? Now's a good moment to ask them. The bandit is clean-shaven as ever, looks in the distance. His chin is worthy of a statue. I should just become a mercenary, seeing how my recent seasons have been going. Tulia lets out a somewhat relieved sigh. Or an adventurer. You get in the boat and grab the planks, not used to the swaying. I think the writers abandoned us at this point. We can do this. The first few minutes are the slowest. You push off the sharp rocks with oars and even your arms, but the restless waves charge at the boat, again and again. Above the dark salty waters, through the bright night, you can see the outline of High Island. You get used to the rhythm of rowing. Your allies are focused on the struggle at hand. Rowing will be harsh, better to take turns. The waves in the deeper waters get tall enough to splash your lips. That's when the harpies take their chance. The pack, a few monsters strong, lowers their flight, seeking an opportunity to strike. Their fluttering, bat-like wings try to oppose the wind, and the creatures are smaller than goblins, with ape-like features and talons that make you think of a parrot. Too dark to tell the colour of their fur. Alright, I'm good with an axe. Let's go. The gambeson on your arm stops the talons as you swing your blade and clenched fist. Egidia dodges the attacks pretty well, using her unstrung bow as a staff. At times, Ephron seems torn between fighting and holding his hat, but manages to land a few crucial hits with his club. The bandit dodges the attacks with ease, caring little for the rocking boat. Tulia lets out an encouraging shout, holding her sword with both hands. Whenever she cuts through a monster's flesh, she strikes the pose of a hero. After a few breaths, the scattered pack seeks shelter among the rocks. Egidia is the only soul who suffered during the onslaught. You watch as she bandages her arms, doubtful she'll be much of a use during further fights. Great job, everyone. After rowing for an hour or so, you leave the coastal rocks behind. The fierce waterfall ahead won't be too difficult to reach, but it's not the spot that hides the old harbour. Wasted effort and cold winds will surely exhaust you before you find it. You look north, there's another waterfall there, much gentler ones. I don't remember if they gave us instructions on which waterfall it is. Go to the northern one. 15 long minutes go by, and the roar of the waterfall devours all other sounds. Here the wall of the island isn't as flat as it seems to be from afar, and the tide lets you reach a few high ledges, flat and wide enough for a boat, even though it's dark. Recognize some old wooden beams as well as a few copper rods, remains of an old structure. There's another boat, a small chunk of it, tied to a post just a few steps away from you. All of you get out and scrape the hull against the ash-coloured rocks. Near the ropes. The cave behind the waterfall is maybe 30 feet above you, but getting to it will take some effort. The ancient stairs and handrails have mostly fallen apart, and the slippery rocks are nothing less than a trap. Shorten the distance with a few confident jumps. Notice one slab that's wider than the others and use it as a starting point. You reach a larger chunk of the broken stairs, and while the bronze structure protests with a loud screech, it won't collapse anytime soon. Reach out to one of your companions and help them join you. The bone hook will make this much easier. Give it a shot. Not only does the hook allow you to climb up the rope, it also allows you to test the durability of bronze rails and sticking out root plants. You reach the higher spots of the wall quickly, followed by the rest of the group. You reach out to Tulia. Forgiven? She chuckles, and spends the rest of the climb by your side, securing you with her uncanny strength. Her wet shaved head is shining in the moonlight. Finally, you pull yourself up into the dark mouth of the cave, the remains of the original stream. Light up a torch and examine the area. The stream roars above you. You light up a torch. The long dark tunnel is moist and full with bats, which, surprised by your presence, flee into deeper corridors. Well, even the stairs were in better shape than this spot. Agilia's voice is solemn. At least my backup strings are dry. Different looks around and takes off his hat, as if you've just entered a tomb. The remains of the harbour aren't any more dignified than a pillaged handloom. The mould and insects spared only a few scraps of wood, while the scavengers scrapped clean any pieces of steel and copper. You run your eyes over the spread stone tools and the scratches left by dragged carts and hulls. Ahead is a brick wall with no door or hinges. Your crew prepares a few torches, enough to last maybe half an hour. Prepare my equipment and get ready to reach the surface. For a few more minutes you walk by the remnants of past dwellers, scraps of fabric, stone bowls, a spot with broken chairs and tables. You walk past a few anxious bats and salamanders, and plenty of spots from which water drips into the tunnel. Sooner or later, the stream will break through one of the countless cracks and reclaim its old bed. You freeze when your light touches the black and creamy fur of the beast, not sure if you should run. You give the monster a chance to turn its boulder-like head, cat with a single horn, that's the size of an old adult human. The creature may be as large and heavy as a house, but its eyes open one at a time, slowly, as if they haven't decided yet if you're really here. Look left and right. The creature almost fills up the width of the tunnel. Your crew looks paralyzed, with eyes wide open. You lower your voices to a whisper. Hysteria. Is this a unicorn? Massive beast, yes. Named after the horns sticking out of their shell, often larger than a human shell. Infamous for holding a crucial role in the raft of the herds, they charge in the front, able to get through wooden and most stone walls with a single crash. Winter Guiana. You'd like to cut the skin, the spirit of havoc. City folk think unicorns are but a battering ram, yet they are their own soul carriers, led by judgment, not anger. Eat grass and shoots, not flesh, and when not with calves, listen to friendly voices, the kind tales and prayers. I think that means it will judge you. It blinks, observing your touch. Nice cave you've got here. I'll just walk by you, alright? You talk for a bit longer until the unicorn lowers its head and lets out a loud snort, hitting you with the air from its nostrils. You take a step closer, then walk around the creature's bear with fear. Before you get behind its rear, you have to put your boot on a rock to step over the outstretched leg. The beast returns to sleep while your allies look at you as if you're crazy, but obediently follow your command. Yes! Lead them towards the exit. Only a few boulders separate you from the deep woods. The song of the sea and the hum of the stream are overshadowed by the screeches of beasts and their prey. While there's some rusty remains of an old cart, and the gentle slope was carved by tools, lead you toward a wall of shrubs and creepers. You get on top of a large rock. There are no roads in sight, but you spot a humble trail made by hooves and paws. The worried looks of your crew are as lost as you are. Think about the map from the giant statue. While the path doesn't lead directly to the volcano, it matches the ancient trail of stars that's meant to take you to the main road, if it still exists. Alright, let's follow the game trail. It may be narrow, but proves to be firm and straight. The plants that surround it grow from the remains of the old road, hardened with rocks. An owl gives your group a curious glance from a branch above your heads. After a few minutes, you reach what seems to be a proper trail, beaten wider than a wagon, and leading both toward the volcano and away from it. Among the thicket, you spot the remains of stone walls, long since collapsed. It's nighttime, isn't it? Yeah. Now we'll stick to this route. The further trail was canopied by overhanging trees, blocking the moonlight. You hear panicked hooves and flapping wings, but you can hardly see anything. Egidia steps ahead and looks around. Brought any light? Okay, let's see. Got a lantern, don't worry. You grab your tinderbox, crouch down, and after a few breaths, you shove the lit candle into the frame. You stand up and shake the lantern. It holds, you move on. Free of the limits of the night sky as the yellow glimmer dances in the leaves. Just pay attention to the sounds. The familiar yells of howlers fill up the path ahead. The monkeys are moving among the tree crowns, barely visible. And the longer you're around, the greater the pain thumping inside your skull. The territory is vast, and they don't need to attack you to wound you. Plug my ears. Do the same. After you throw them a candle, it takes them a few minutes to shove some wax in their ears. The howling becomes muffled, but as long as you have ears, some of it will reach you. Alright. Thoughts, Egidia? I can try to shoot, but I cannot focus. Ephron? Huh? What are you waiting for? Bandit? Rubbing his temples, looking down. Juliet? Stick together. I'll help you get through. Alright. Let's run through then. Having a reliable source of light on you, you manage to scare off a few howlers brave enough to get in your way. Having Tulia by your side, ready to stab whatever gets close to you, you soon leave the beast behind without a scratch. I run until my head stops aching. The relief is short-lived. The pond ahead is swarmed with buzzing insects, and judging by the bones of dragonlings you see on the bank, they're as hungry as they are numerous. The only road ahead leads through them, and you may lack the strength to walk around their feeding ground. Alright. About the sting ointment. The scent of lavender, mint, and basil blends into the humid wilderness. Your group covers every ounce of their skin and wraps themselves up with scraps of fabric, but waits for you to enter the cloud of wings first. The creatures split in front of you, forming a dark tunnel. Their loud wings shine in the moonlight. Through the gaps between them, I see the hills and the volcano above them. You reach a humble valley. The trees here are sparse, and the stream, while gentle, has completely distorted the path. At least the moonlight can guide you. Black saurians, covered with yellow spots, are too numerous to count, laying just a few steps away from one another, from the grasses to the branches. Most of them are asleep, but a few of the closer ones give you curious glances, sticking out and hiding their forked tongues rapidly. The beasts aren't massive, maybe 2 steps long. You look to the sides, the hills are impassable. Examine the surroundings. You vaguely recognize the shapes of fruit trees and shrubs, but no animals seem to browse on them. You crouch down. The road is marked with fresh prints left by various creatures. Don't have many options to choose from. Okay. If I had a chicken, maybe that would work. Throw them the meaty bits from my food rations. You lost a ration. Okay. Keeps moving its tongue, but steps away. Moves slowly, drawing as little attention as possible. Your careful steps are greeted with hisses, but the beasts either stay in their spots, not bothering you as you walk around them, or move out of your way. Crossing the stream, a few of them don't even wake up. The valley once again turns into a lush forest. The path here is even narrower than it was before. Glance at the volcano. I'm halfway there. The path ahead is overtaken by a thicket, but the fatigue is catching up with you. The remains of a hamlet have no dwellers other than rats and snakes. We should rest here, you say to your companions. You find a flat rock, cover it with your cloak, and let yourself sit idly for a bit before you open your bags. You may not find another time to have a few bites of food. Egidia sits by the ruined tower by herself, wipes her forehead with a cloth, and takes her boots off. Ephraim seems anxious at first, but finally sits down on the ground, turned towards the entrance, and takes off the head of the wolf. The bandit crouches by the wall, in the spot where a beam of moonlight gets through the leaves, and rests his head against the bricks. Tulia sits by you, her fingers are tapping on the hilt of her sword, and you notice that she's humming some sort of melody you've heard in the Heartless City. Try to figure out what these ruins used to be. Judging by the stone wall and the now collapsed tower, it could have served as a shelter for 24 humans at once. There are no remains of any shed, working station or tools, and you see nothing unusual about the surrounding rocks and plants. Look at Egidia. He returns your gaze and gives you a sad smile. Holds her wounded side up to stop the pain. I would kind of rather have... I do want to save the healing potion, honestly. But what if I need it for Asterion or something? Tulia, can you lend a hand here? She grabs a few bandages from her travel kit. Show me where it hurts. She instructs Egidia to pay you no more attention. You in one piece, Ephraim? He waves you off, constantly observing the entrance. The bandit, when he raises his head, he looks like a thoughtful statue, but he spares not a single glance to anyone around him. How are you doing, Tulia? She steps away from her patient and throws away a scrap of dirty fabric. It isn't in some, that's for sure. I let my back and limbs rest for a bit, then prepare my tools to cut through the bushes. Time to carry on. You climb to the top of the wall and get a look ahead. The trail must have overgrown only recently, but the thorny bushes won't be crossed easily. Some of the beaten track that leads to the proper woods will take some effort. Here's a large part of the withering dust, but save some for later. After covering your skin and drawing a mug full of stream water, you spread the poison on the ground, step by step, and form a passage of twisted burnt stems, still hissing as you move them to the side with your boot. The golem glove will make this a bit easier. Where you have to look out for thorns, your fierce grasp helps you break and pull any stems that oppose the cuts of your blade. No more tools to help me. The work is tiring, and would go faster if it wasn't for the harpies circling above you. Once you reach the next section of the trail, Tulia gestures for you to slow down and give her time to catch your breath. Make sure there are no thorns stuck in your pants. The road goes straight forward, suddenly getting much wider. The ground is surrounded with collapsed branches, trampled seedlings, and a dead road deer. But judging by the beaten path and the pebbles under the surface, this trail is as old as the previous one. Right, the map from the statue. You've no doubt this trail is the main road to the volcano, but it's not the only route. According to the stars on the statue, there should be a shortcut somewhere around here. A narrower one, but much more direct. Check if the shortcut's still there. Behind a few fallen trunks, you find the remnants of the path. The rotten, dug-in wooden stairs leading up the hill offer no support, but there's plenty of paw prints on the ground and claw marks on the trees. It's now a convenient game trail. I call the others. Let's see if this path is clear. The narrow, twisted path takes you to a creek, then down the human-carved tunnel leading through a rocky hill. The closer you are to the volcano, the more signs of humans you find. The abandoned tools, the overgrown fences and fire holes, the fruit trees and trimmed centuries-old oaks. The ribbon of smoke hides the stars behind it, though you still can't smell it. The mountain's upper half is black and grey from cold lava and ashes, while the lower half is mostly green, with short but lush trees and thriving flowers bathing in the moonlight. See the shape of an open gate at the end of the road. This is it, path to Volcano. Stone posts are dark from dust, but as good as new, even though the crooked planks of the wooden leaves are beyond restoration. Seeing nothing on top of the wall, you enter the partially buried ruins, with humble buildings sticking out from the layers bit out by the volcano. It takes only a few breaths before the first enemy jumps on the road from the roof of a ruined hut, and your crew prepares their weapons. It's a head shorter than you, and walks on its hind legs, but has the head of a raccoon, though its ears are too small, the fangs too long, the eyes resemble those of an ape. Despite its human-like posture, it leans slightly forward, with arms curled up, has no tail, and keeps sniffing, as if it barely sees you. Next is the boar-headed beast, with two sets of remarkable tusks and bristles instead of puffy fur. Then they're joined by two long-tailed rat folk, a fox folk, and a lizard folk. You can't face them on their own ground, grunts the bandit. Look for the leader of their pack. The tallest one of them all is the beast with deer antlers. Steps forward and crouches down, touching the ground with an open palm. Doesn't make a sound, just pierces you with its almost human eyes. Its pack blocks the twisty path forward that is carved in the mountainside, narrow and completely open from one side. You think of the tales taught to all children in the Dragonwoods. The beast folk may be destructive, but if not threatened, they're willing to trade. You've got some food that you could offer to the creatures, but it's not nearly enough to fill this many stomachs. However, you could try to get through them once they get distracted. Observe them more closely. They wear no clothes and carry no tools or weapons. Can't tell if they're hungry, muscular, healthy. Their shapes resemble no creature you've seen before, other than gnolls. Thoughts, Egidia? We should not be here. Ephron? Bandit? Maybe easier, but if you think we can handle some climbing, all the mountain slopes here are rather gentle. Juliet? They have slaves and leaders, she stares at the deer. I doubt we have to feed all of them. Alright. Give them a food ration. Give them a food ration. The deer steps closer and eagerly picks up your offering with its hands, then turns around, as if you're not a threat, and then sits down at the threshold of one of the ruined buildings and starts to chew your gifts. Give them a food ration. Waiting for more food ration. The rats leap forward, grab the food with their teeth, and run if they're in a panic. They disappear behind a rock, chased by the lizard. With a few of them gone, we could try to get through them. Oh, maybe. Now, you wave for the others to follow you and put every breath into your legs, heading up the path. The beast, more surprised than anything, step away, while the boar tries to chase after you. The others stay idle. Soon your crew leaves the ruins behind. Hope there's another path down. I'm tempted to find another way around because I want the rations. Look for another path. The beasts stay in the ruined village. You follow the narrow side path, reaching a lone tower made of stone. Though seeing how most of the loose bricks are on the outside of the structure, it could have been a hollow building used to lower down boulders from platforms at the top. You roll up your sleeves and stretch out your arms. Maybe an endeavour, but you can do this. My muscles will help me cross the largest gaps. You compensate for the lack of technique and tools with your vigor and confidence. Bone hook. Don't have enough trust in the structure to simply climb up the rope, but it secures you as you get higher. A bit more effort and we'll get there. They may be tired, but give you encouraging nods and get to work, helping you reach the toughest spots. Once you get to the top of the tower, you easily reach the collapsing wooden platform. After pulling yourself up a few more times, you're on the ground, gasping for air. There are no monsters in sight, just the trail forward. Make sure the others are safe. The howling wind pushes your crew up the short path between the tufts of grass, sparse yellow flowers and dormant ashes, and the trails of cold lava. Your legs, unused to such long wayfaring, ache. Ephraim kneels down by the poorly lit ground. There are boot prints here, he says, but they lead only one way. I follow them, looking out for animals. There aren't any signs of past dwellers. The burnt cart, the collapsed shed, the digging tools made of antler or rusty steel. The trail ends at the cave mouth. The leaves of the gate are made of stone, now ajar. You push aside the battering ram. Alright, drop my heavy bags on the ground. Be ready to fight in narrow corridors. The light you'll carry and guide your group through the complete darkness. The polished walls of the tunnel, free of pointy rocks, were no doubt carved by human hands. The steps are loud, unlike the gentle draft in the deep stream. You pass by another corridor, buried by the mountain. You gesture for the others to stop. Back behind the corner, kicked a rock that is now rolling on the floor. Asterion? The ghastly scream of a human-like throat makes you take a defensive stance, but despite the passing breaths, no attack follows. Holding the light in front of you, you reach the next chamber. The undead is furiously squirming in its attempt to release itself, alternately pulling the spear that's nailing it to the wall and reaching towards you, as if it's hoping you'll fall into its embrace. There are no other corpses in sight. The creature must be starving. Egidia covers her mouth, stopping herself from screaming. Well, Tulia lets out a sigh. I guess we found him. Ephraim takes off his hat and holds it in front of his chest. The bandit gives you a fearful look. What happened here? Let me take a look. The half-rotten flesh and worn, torn tunic tells you little, but Asterion's short shell is still wearing the mail you were told about, now rusty, even more clangy than a new set. Some of the red hair and beard remain on the monstrous pale face, but most of their strands are all over the floor. The knees of the creature are shattered. The knees of the creature are shattered. Next to them rests a large rock. He knew he was going to die, so he imprisoned himself here. You step closer. The undead does its best to throw itself at you, but it's not strong enough. A few blows to the head should be enough. When the shell stops moving, the dead hand is still clenched on your gambeson. The corpse leans forward, loosely resting on the haft of the spear. The pieces of the skull are scattered over the chamber. Your crew remains silent. The light flickers. Look at her, Egidia. Are you alright? Ah shit, fire. Her shoulders slope as she steps away. Is this not weird? How souls like his get swallowed by the forest, while Thetis sits on her throne of dragon bones. She gets weaker and weaker from that illness of hers, but still has enough of a breath to lie in this scheme. Just stupid. I searched the shells bundles. No one is eager to assist you. Among the decomposing soggy bags and pouches, you find a humble bunch of coins threaded on a bowstring, far from the 50 that you were asked to find by Pelt's innkeep. Other than that, you find no potions, weapons, or travel kit, only a few unassembled torches. Let's examine the cave. The centuries-old treasure, spread among the collapsed racks and chests, is mostly beyond use, but you do notice a few tools and statuettes made of now green bronze. Judging by the simplicity of the chamber, it was likely little more than basic storage room. The corridors leading to the deeper caves have all been buried by time. Let's collect the useful scraps of bronze and iron. Since you have quite a few capable hands with you, the clangs and rattles last for quite a bit, even though you only take the most promising pieces to avoid encumbrance. Let's get back to the boat before the sun rises. You spare the courts one more look. Tulia clears her throat. We can't leave him like that. You're right, let's gather some timber. You surround Asterion's shell with a few wooden logs and some of his own possessions. The smoke drives you outside. The fresh air makes you yawn. You grab your bags and approach the edge of the scarp, observing the woods of High Island. You recognize the trail that led you here from the Valley of the Saurians. Let's try to follow the same trail. We should be able to reach the harbour before the low tide. That's that. Oh. You help your group tie the boat to the piling. Egidia, worried about Sodal, is the first one to enter the hamlet. The others start to plan their return home. Ephraim has a wide smile and keeps raising his voice. I knew I'd be alright, he announces as he pounds his chest. The bandit stays away from the others, listening carefully to each word. Tulia lets out a weak chuckle and helps the conversation keep to a friendly tone. She resembles the same woman you saw in the camp all those days back, but this time she holds herself like a leader. I rub my eyes and follow Egidia. Better get ready. Scratch Sodal's neck, take off your bundles, splash your face with cold water. Now to take everyone to safety before you stop somewhere for the night. At the end of the day, we're going to end the day at... I guess the watchtower? Yeah, I want to go to the old bridge, and then... Thinking about it. Southern Crossroads, Western Crossroads. Let's go to the watchtower. The watchtower is blending with the wilderness slowly. The wind is chilly, strong enough to sway the shrubs and trees. You're surrounded with the fresh scent of needles and plant litter. Take a look at the signposts. Yeah, okay. May use this campfire spot in future if I have any raw meat. Okay, that's good to know. Into the tower. Oh, I've still got time. How much time do I have? 4 hours. Okay, I can just head up to the old bridge. Might be able to make it all the way to the Green Mountain, actually. Look, time to stop lugging around this painted plank. The convenient remains of a shrub help you tie the plank above the ground. After a few minutes, you step away and take a look at the new sign. I'd rather see people building new paths, not hide them. Wash myself in the river. Ow. Got bit. Cast it into the bushes and make it suffocate. Alright, back to the abandoned tower. Into the tower. Leap. Leap. Alright. rations. That's the giant. That's a small cave we've already been to. We could just go to the tribe of the Green Mountain. Might as well check out what's up there. Kinda just gotta polish off whatever quests we have left now. Into the cave. While Cephas is already waiting for you, he asks you to wait a few minutes. When Jian shows up, she coughs a bit, but welcomes you with a warm smile and sits down on the trunk, letting out a loud, relaxed sigh. She spreads her stones on the fabric, moving them with great care. Barter? No. Okay, that's fine. Bring you news on what I saw at High Island. Sharing the story of your journey takes a long time. You get many questions from both leaders, and some of the more nuanced descriptions use words that are not known to them. Finally, you describe the cave and Asterion's treasure. Yan looks at the rocks below her. Cephas speaks in her direction, with disappointment flying through every sound. So, after all, he was yet another shell lasting after wealth. You flinch when he reaches for his sword, but he uses it as a support for his crossed arms. Asterion is yet another sign that the city folk haven't changed, yet so far you've shown us nothing but kindness. Why have you returned to us with this tale, Buta? I need to speak with you about Hovlevin. He pierces you with his cold eyes, and speak. You share the sparse information you possess, the possible arrival of messengers, the negotiations with settlements, the states of roads. If everything goes according to the officials' plans, you conclude, you have no way of stopping the days of merchants and soldiers. I ask you not to change your way of life, but to agree to meet with whoever the city sends here, and to reject them with your words, not violence. The long pause is broken by Gian. Buta's apology, but wait outside. He speaks gently, but with a hint of melancholy. We need to talk as chief and shaman, or the tribe's soul is in danger. I step out of the chamber. You're the only person who does so, and even as you hear the raised voices of the leaders, they are freely heard by all nearby tribesfolk. The thick old speech accent and distorting echo won't allow you to catch so much as a word, but the tense atmosphere is palpable. Finally, you're asked to return to the room, and as you sit down, Cephas looks you in the eyes, holding his helmet. We will never get along with those who led to our fall, his voice got hoarse. But let them know who we are, and we're ready to tell them where our lands start, so they know how to avoid them. That's all I'm asking for. Yane nods, but her eyes are absent, and her hands are clenched around dozens of small red crystals. Oh, that came out better than I thought. Alright, let's stop over at Foggy's, I guess. Should be able to get a free meal out of this. Meal, please. I found Asterion. After your story, she lets out a chuckle. So that's where he's been up to. Going there all by himself. What a dumb boy. She sees your looks and shrugs. What can I say, love? He wasn't of much use. I wish I could get the head of his lizard. It would look plenty fine. Oh, there. He points at the bug's trophy with her broad chin. No, already bought stuff. Did they actually tell me? I have 3 left. Okay, that's good. Let's fill up. Things I'm willing to part with. Okay, time for me to go. 11 days before. Go to creeks. Guard leaning from the watchtower warmly welcomes you with a shout, though the wind distorts the words. clothes need no washing. Jump into the stream. Good, okay. Ela. Asterion is dead. I found his shell. He sits down. You consider walking away, but he finally speaks, though with hesitation. I'll pass the story to the tribe, though in a bit gentler way. He sighs and looks at your boots. Can't believe he found nothing. Why would he listen to a legend? Didn't he know there's so many of them that it can't be all true? He adjusts his jacket, scratching his side with an absent look. I think he told us nothing, and about such goblin-brained thing. He raises his eyes slightly, and seeing his clenched lips, you realise there's nothing else he can tell you about it. Additional progress with the Eastern Path. Place the sign just like you asked. He exhales and nods gently. Thanks, friend. I was thinking about it, and maybe a good opportunity to us to visit that mountain after all. There's a lot to talk about, and there will be even more in spring. Yeah. Hands you 2 dragon bones that he already held in a pocket in his pants. Grab them without a word. I'm surprised you keep finding something to do. This land really is a mess. I'll let you know if there's anything else. See you later. Ifrin. Good fortune to you, friend. Okay, nothing from you. Other... we were talking about the room. Aye, the tribe says you're worth keeping around. I'll show you a scrap of floor. She leads you to the main square where a few people wave at you, then simply pushes the door of the building that's near the northern bridge. On a bench next to the entrance, a young, visibly pregnant woman is leaning against the wall. Her bare feet are stretched out and makes small circles, warming up before taking a walk. A new neighbour, she warmly announces. Finally free from inns and caves, eh? Before you respond, you hear Harvard's frustration. I'm done waiting. I follow her inside. The house has a single large chamber, airy and bright. While the door has no lock, a massive bar that may be used to barricade it is right at hand, and the shutters seem just as safe. Signs of the residence are spread on the floor, shelves, tables, stools, and inside an open chest. At first they seem disorderly, but you recognise that the sleeping spots under the walls is surrounded with items of distinct purpose, such as tools or toys. While there's not much privacy to be found here, there's still some sense of ownership and attachment to objects and spaces. As you have already seen, the lives of the locals take place outside. You recognise but one shape sleeping in a corner, a guard you've seen before, resting after a night shift. Your guide is standing above another corner, next to an open window. It's the only spot that's free of clothes and other odds and ends. You are the 8th dweller, so be quiet during the night time, and be clean at all times. That's it. She turns around and leaves you with a large pile of furs, on which you spot no dust or dirt. It's always good to have more options, but that's about it. Look at the empty corner, my new home, and sit down for a bit. I place around a few small things of mine as mark of ownership. Okay, we've got 2.5 hours. Can we make it to Gale Rocks? We can. Good. Fishers have returned to the village, but the work is far from being over. You see lights and smoke coming from the eastern part of the village, where fish are being gutted and prepared for smoking. The guards instruct you not to disturb anyone after dusk and tell you that should you visit Fulvia, who may have a room to spare. Soon after your arrival, someone asks about your day, and as you look around you see many smiles and hand waves. Alright, let's go to the head woman. You'll ascend the hill, yada yada yada, go inside. What is the matter? Yo, the people of Old Pagos could use an old friend right now, maybe some supplies for winter. He straightens up and frowns. I think you misunderstand the shape of our past alliance, you do. While it's true that our forebears had strong ties, even before Pagos started following the right in their own river of faith, for years now we've been at odds, contacting each other merely out of necessity. Ever since we were accused of robbing them, she suddenly pauses, glancing at her granddaughter and clearing her throat. Wrongly accused. We are not welcomed at their gates. I've no doubt they wouldn't help us either. You already know that Glaucia is willing to lie to you. You could heal old wounds by helping the sick and weak. The words are harsh, outsider, but hard to argue with. Alright, I haven't much of my own. She glances at the sleeves of her dress and cup-like seashells. But I'll present this case to the council. You've already helped us learn that the tall-selling caravan won't take their share of our fish, so we may have a few barrels to spare. Though I can't promise you much, I can't promise you anything actually. A few barrels of fish is enough to save lives. She glances at her granddaughter, lets her tips tap against each other in size. At a large price, I'll do my best. And I'll vote yes, says the guard with a wide smile. Thanks for being willing to try at least. I found a Asterion on my island. As you speak, she pours water from a pitcher to a seashell and responds without looking at you. Right, well, he knew the rules. The same rules you broke. She takes a small sip and licks her wrinkled lips. But I guess you're still in one piece, so I won't dwell on it. Need to have stronger evidence before I confront her about collaboration with the bandits. You don't just speak with Glaucia, you collaborate with her. I'm going to quick save before I use this one. She looks at her granddaughter and nods at the exit. She frowns, raising her crossbow gently, but obediently leaves the room. As a perfumed man moves his hand to the grip of his sickle sword, as if trying to compensate for the sudden lack of assistance. Glaucia was born and raised in this village, and many of those who joined her band used to be our neighbours, or their spouses. We ain't talking here about some strangers I'd put a bounty on. You've discussed the matter for some time. You focus on the link between the highwaymen and the rare visits of trading caravans. I'm sure you have heard about the squad of soldiers sent here by the city, you conclude. Their fight at Hag's Hill Pass has pretty much crushed them. Once the officials learn that there's yet another group of armed bandits, and fully supported by a crucial trading partner at that, it won't bode well for your current lifestyle. She listens carefully, and her answer is close to a whisper. Tell me what you propose, stranger. It's time for your village to join forces with Hovlevin. If Glaucia is ready to put your lives in danger, you need to have soldiers at hand. Someone ready to maintain the roads and keep the beasts and bandits away. The crossbow woman peeks inside, as if surprised there has been no bloodshed yet. Severina reacts to it with nothing more than a glance, staring at you like a statue from above her clasped fingers. Is it too late to admit I was sure this is where you've been leading me with all your talk? I'm ready to ask the council to listen to you, I am. She can't completely hide the pain in her voice. There's been more and more talk of such a treaty in recent years, as our lives get harsher than they've been in many decades, and we even grow apart from our neighbours. She then notes something on her tablet and gives it to the guard, sharing with a telling nod with him. But I ain't sure yet what's right, stranger, and the elders and head workers won't be so sure either. You only have one chance to convince us that we should push our family members and friends towards a cliff, and instead base some outsiders from the city. I don't envy you such a task. Seeing the kind look of her grandmother, the young woman returns to her chair, but, at least for now, lets her crossbow rest. Very well, I'll speak with you when I'm ready to face the council. Okay, so in order to get the support of this council, I need to continue on with Glaucia. Okay. No, I'm fine here. I'll just sleep. And we'll rent, because we need to heal up that little pip. Days are getting shorter. Okay. The fisher. Did you catch an empress carp? Right, and a few of them, but most of them are females. He approaches the nearby shed and brings you a bucket covered with lids that are held by hemp cords. Lets you hold it for a bit. It's heavy and its weight shifts, and it's filled with water. You'll need to deliver it quickly or it's going to choke itself to death, or die of hunger. I don't know much about keeping fish alive, but if it dies, I can sell you another for another coin. Cool. See you later. I have a bucket full of fish. Empress carp. Can probably make it all the way down to him today. Easy enough, right? 13 hours. Probably stop off at Old Pagos as well. Okay, we'll stop off at Old Pagos as well. Cool, nothing there. Library and stone. There's nothing else I can think of either. Okay. Quick load then, and instead travel straight down to the Elder's Cave. Do I want to stop off at Howler's Dell? Yeah, might as well, actually. Gossip for a bit. Into the village. Elpis. Nope. Nothing there. Nothing there. Mia. Ah. I found Asterion. You described the island and the cave, but before you mention the Roadwarden shell, she leans away and sighs. Leads this to the bard. Is he dead or not? After your one word response, she waves it off. Very well, I'll tell the others. Ooh, okay then. Bring goods to sell. Yeah, you want some iron scraps? 9 rings? Deal. And more iron scraps. Deal. Back my things. Yeah, for sale. I will buy the linen fabric. And a new battle axe, I guess? Yeah. You bought the axe. Very good. Nothing for now. Still need to give, I think, 20 back to the innkeeper. Yeah, we'll travel down to the Elder's Cave. I bought your cart. Looks inside the bucket quickly, then gives you a big smile. Now I'm in your debt, traveller. Let me know if you need a healing touch. He closes the bucket again and puts it on the bench. I'm fine. Found Asterion. His eyes widen after you mention the undead from a cave. Once he speaks, his voice is shaking. Awoken by the fox, you released him from the worst fate. To know the truth. He sighs. Feels right. Oh, nope, that's fine. Get over to Pell to the north. Approach the guards, quick save, axe throwing. +3, cool. That's a good way to spend some time. Go into the inn. Speak to the innkeeper. I found Asterion. You tell an abridged version of your story, during which you struggle to read anything from the innkeeper's eyes. Once you're done, he tensely moves his shoulders, waiting for something. And here are the dragon bones he had with him in the cave. I'm afraid it's not even close to 50. He taps his fingers on the counter, but takes a deep breath. Could be worth. Keep 5 of them. He looks down. Maybe an ape shit on his head. May an ape shit on his head. There we go. Nice. Good job. Looks like I've been conned. The darkness of the room gives his eyes a sad look. You didn't know him, but what did you think? Was he a crook? I'm not sure. I may still find a pouch of his somewhere. I'm going to keep my hopes low. He purses his lips. I appreciate your efforts though. Getting to an island like that ain't an easy feat. This peninsula needs people like you. There are too many things happening away from everyone's eyes. Anything you'd like to buy? We stay in touch with howlers, so we have all the clothes we need. We could sell it to some travellers, though, sometime. You describe how much fabric is in your possession. Should be worth 10 coins, don't you think? I can pay you that and add 1 coin for the delivery. That's all. No, I'll probably sell it off to White Marshes and try to get on with those. Your wares. Oh yeah, 1 coin for 3. Yep, that's good. 3 hours. Way. Travel. Going to quick save and travel down here. I want to see if this troll is still here. The road is covered with footprints. From time to time you spot bloodstains spit out by someone with deep wounds. The black carrion eaters are circling ahead. May need to turn around. You don't reach the walls, the carcasses serving as a feast to birds and dranklings, a few of which are resting on the ground, waiting for the next wave of hunger. One of them gets back on its paws, giving you a warning stare. The path from the troll's charge is marked with broken arrows and puddles of blood. The soldiers fought bravely, but the camp will be of no use until someone arrives here with a wagon of timber. Okay, time to get out of here. Oh, back to the Pelt of the North, I guess. Alright, enter the inn. Talk to Tulia. About Asterion. She ponders for a bit, looking at the oven. So what do you make of it? Not the brightest death I could wish for someone. He was biting off more than he could chew. Now his kids will face the consequences. My thoughts exactly. Did he do all this for his own ambitions, or to help his family? She scratches the back of her head. Her hair has started to show. Still, he made a mistake. Well, not necessarily. We can't judge the decision on the outcome alone. He may have had a good reason to think it would all play out as he intended. You may be right. Even healthy thoughts lead us to suffering. Exactly. She stretches out, heads upstairs, and brings you a few items. There's enough of them to make you stumble, but she covers her embarrassment with a chuckle. Well, this is my part of the deal. She rests 2 weapons against the table. You remove the cloth wrapped around the spear's head. It's sharp, made of steel, and the shaft is made of thick oak. Asterion must have had pretty large hands, and is partially covered with linen cord and leather straps intended to support one's grip. The bow is currently unstrung, but would be about 5 feet long. The polished red oak shines in the light. You wonder if you're too old to learn how to shoot such a weapon. Look at the things on the table. The leather pouch must be decades old. You shake it, there's a few bones inside, but also something made of metal. You reach for the earthenware bottles. 3 of them are very similar to each other, as small as your fist, and are all sealed with wax, though the tiny sticks in them will enable swift opening. Julia explains that they contain smaller amounts of the healing concoction. The last bottle was larger. There are 2 letters engraved on the surface, unknown to you. The soldier has no idea what it is. Finding space for it all among my bundles won't be easy. Ooh, got Asterion's equipment. Sodal spares you a glance as you reach towards your bundles, but then returns to its nap. You take a deep breath. You could have taken the easy way out, but you didn't. Your back, buttocks, and legs are aching from the long journey. The first night you spent on the peninsula could be a lifetime ago. Yet here you are, and who knows, maybe even rich. The hell did I get? I have a spear, have a cool battle axes, a shield, withering dust, wooden lantern. Open Asterion's pouch. Turns out the large piece of metal was an iron key, but there's no clue explaining its purpose. Aside from that, you find 6 dragon bones. Okay. Stereon's bow. You lack the proper training, but you can still sell it. Stereon's bottle. 2 letters engraved on its surface. You don't recognize them. Okay, I'll probably go find someone who can read. Sodal. And so many small healing potions. Okay. Ready for action. Do you have anything you'd like to buy? Stereon's wine. Okay. We get it. Alright. Outside. Actually, I do want to talk to Leah about the camp. Into your camp, it's as good as gone. You explain that the broken entrance is in worse shape than she remembers, and the scavengers are going to have a feast for a few more days, if not more. She rubs the top of her head with an entire palm, glancing at 2 hunters who just entered the room. No longer my problem, she says to herself, but then meets your eyes and lets out a sorrowful chuckle. Quite a monster we knocked down, didn't we? Okay. Before this ends the game, summer is almost over. We should travel back. We should soon travel back to the city. Well, if any city rat is going to criticize me for getting out of here before the end of my watch, they can jump into the sea for all I care. I can head back whenever. Okay. So that's the end. Got 9 days. Alright, let's head to... Let's see. The priests can help me read. So I guess that's the first stopping point. Then over to Glaucia, and we'll try and figure out what to do there. Actually no, we'll go to White Marshes. If I can't learn something there. Oh, they won't read it for me. Okay. We'll quick load then. Go outside. Who else can read? Thesis, if she wants to help, I guess. She's on the way to the bandits at least. Don't have time. Main square. Thesis. Fuck. Okay. Thesis square. Elpis? Nope. Okay. To the hideout. No, that's not where I was going to go, right? Going to White Marshes first. For a few breaths you see more undead than locals, yada yada yada. Some wares to sell. Touches it with the palm of his hand and looks at it suspiciously. Where's it from? Brought it here from beyond Hag Hills. It's good fabric, but not unique. 12. Deal. Points his blade at one more thing. Not this time. Tell him about the woman who asked me to find her savings. You meet his gaze, both harsh and condescending. No doubt he won't take any accusations lightly. A woman from your village asked me to bring some lost savings from the east. I thought you ought to know about this. I'll speak with her, but you're doing the right thing. She's in the tribe's debt and doesn't deserve the right to leave before she does her part. God, I hate this place. I know where the highwaymen's hideout is. No, I don't want to... Oh, I hate it here. Okay. Well, we're at halfway, so let's head over to the hideout. See if we can't advance Glaucia's quest at all. Bashal's died somewhere. Okay, you need to seek shelter. Elder's Dell is safe. They would take a finger from me for each bite. Yeah, okay. Could ask the innkeep to let him stay for labour. Okay, we'll return this later. Open the gate. Into the forest. Go to the bandits' hideout. Distant roar gets louder as you rise forward and is quickly followed by the obnoxious screeching of runners. You notice the sounds of breaking branches and powerful paws trampling the soil. Shouts of anger and fear. Yeah, sure, let's pick a fight. Follow the sounds. The tall trees cover you with the shadows. You're forced to get on your boots to move beneath a few of the fallen burrows. Soon, you reach a few shrubs at the edge of the fighting ground and tether your mount nearby. You count 6 birds spread around the dry gale. They're as tall as your palfrey, with pointy curved beaks and tiny wings. Their feathers are green, blue, and white. The saurian, surrounded by the predators, looks like it could break their necks with just a single breath. It matches your height, but it's as wide as it is tall, and as long as a house. Even without its long tail, it's covered with firm plates, aligned in horizontal rows down the entire shell, and its head resembles a horned helmet. On its sides are 2 rows of irregular spikes, each of them longer than your forearm. The creature swings its tail left and right, scaring off the runners with a massive club at its end. Surely some bird beaks won't get through the dragon's scoots. By the monster's side, you notice its descendant, gurgling in fear, too small and weak to protect itself. The runners don't have to rely on their muscles, they're fast and nimble, and keep their distance easily. Their constant shouts and disorientating movements force their victims to walk in place, swinging the tree-breaking weapon to no avail. If the predators make a mistake, the dragon will crush one of them, scaring the flock away. Otherwise, the saurian will break the neck of its child with a single wrong step. One of the birds spots you and shot, starts to flap its wings and squawk. United Church would rejoice at the sight of a dead dragon and don't intervene. Okay. You ride away. After a minute you hear a painful roar. You look back, only to notice that one of the trees starts to crack, falling down like a tower hit by lightning. The earth shakes, causing Sodal's snort. The centuries-old juices of the plant are now nothing more than a meal, just like the dragon's scion. Every dead dragon secures the fate of humankind. Cool. Alright, into the hamlet. Got the spying you wanted me to do. Can't do it. You're asking too much, it'd be wrong to do this. Quest completed. Spy on White Marshes. Your fist flies towards your abdomen, but retracts before it lands and before you manage to block it. And you carried such a promise. You're a piece of shit, waste of air. Listen, they won't let me in, essentially. He steps away, turns around, and vaguely waves in your direction. Your guards approach you. Don't show up again before you have something of worth to say. Oh god, no, that gets you fucking out, okay. She stops and rubs a large nettle leaf between her fingers when I ask about her. There ain't much story in me to share. As a young lass, I was taught to sew for food and planned to start a family with a kind cobbler. Her voice weakens and she looks down at her boots. I had to leave my family and I accepted it. On my way to the wedding, them awoken shells took my closest friend, my face, and the hand I worked with. I accepted it. The right gave me no kids, and I accepted it. She then runs her eyes over the nearby guards, raising her voice almost to a shout. But after them monsters hit my home and shattered everything I had built or loved, I would not accept it, with or without the right. I'll make those butchers pay. Her wounded eye, far from being free of the pain it has seen, looks at you with determination. I've been here 10 years now, and I'll be here as long as it takes, by myself if I must. Tapping the hilt of her sword, she moves forward. After spending a few days on these roads, I'm surprised your band didn't get mauled to death yet. She looks at the man who's missing an eye. We've been marked in many ways, she starts carefully, and we've burnt our share of shells. Well, all of us were here from the beginning, you see. After you ask her for any tips on how to survive the road, she shrugs, then moves her hands behind her back, still turned away from you. Not for a rider, I won't. When we move in a strong group, smaller monsters stay away, and you can't fight the packs, numerous enough to attack us. Her pause is long enough that you consider changing the topic, but then she carries on. What you need to learn is that there ain't anything free in the woods. Lost bone, rotten apple, shiny pebble, a cave. Everything will be eaten or taken away, and if it's laying there by itself, you better wonder why. Why don't you try to secure these roads? She kicks away a small rock, one of many you step upon. The roads are fine as they are. You ask her for any thoughts on how people see them as dangerous, too much, or maintaining any trade, but she chuckles in her response. Some of them will do better by never leaving their homes. Okay, who are you even robbing on these roads? You don't understand our path, stranger. Her voice is harsh, but carries no grudge. Yes, we took a few things from the settlements, or forced some merchants to pay us for escorting them, she says with amusement, but we ain't some bloodthirsty robbers. We cut our own firewood, hunt to fill our bellies, trade if we need to. You'd be surprised. She turns around and takes a few steps backwards, gazing into your eyes. A little work one needs when you have strong arms, no taxes, and no young or old mouths to feed. You glance at the massive hole in the southern part of the wall. Her lips tighten, and she turns away again. We won't stay in this place for much longer. You're lucky that the soldiers from Roadwarden took care of the band dwelling in Hag Hills. She walks without a word for a good few heartbeats. 3 rooks are searching for food in the grass, ignoring her heavy steps and mail, yet toddling away once you approach them. I had different opinions on the range of their territory. She looks at her guards with pride. They had enough muscle to become a threat, but were careless and had no purpose, merely hunger. We were around long before them. They're gone, but we remain, such is right's will for us. Before she resumes her stroll, she meets your eyes and nods slowly. Right, we were lucky. Say hi to Tulia for me. I'll see her soon. She responds to your frown with a smirk and turns away. Alright, the Council of Gale Rocks is planning to hold a meeting about cutting ties with your band. She freezes, then dashes towards you, pushing you against the wall. Your cheek scratches against the mouldy logs, and you move your hands, but to no avail. The guards emerge out of thin air, holding you from both sides. Blouses, dagger and fingers are at your neck, and you try to hold your breath. They're planning, are they? And not at all because of you. I don't know what you told them. The blade cuts through your skin, and the warm, dense blood leaks down the front of your gambeson, but you're going to fix it. You're on the ground, held by her massive boot. That's why you're here, ain't you? To hear my offer? Too slimy to do something out of your own conviction? She takes her leg off you, and you can breathe again. Show me you heard me. You're going to fix this, she drawls. Without a word, I try to get up. A kick to your jaw sends you back to the ground. You hiss, but no one stops you from touching your face. You rub it, hoping it will ease the pain. I have your attention now, Glaucia announces. Take part in this meeting, say a thing or two, merely don't be too convincing, let them conclude. it was a bad idea in the first place, but not that you wasted their time. The loud call of a rook makes her turn away from you, and it returns her stare with its beak parted in surprise. Play nice, and I'll play with you. If you plan to stay in this peninsula for the next few seasons or so, I'll be ready to make some concessions for your sake, as well as share our future earnings with you. But most importantly, she turns towards you with hands on her side, I'll let you live. Her eyes size you up, yet you notice that her look is absent. Soon after, she heads to the shelter's entrance loudly. Scat, outsider, and don't fuck this up. The door closes behind her, but the guards remain close to you, with little patience in their gaze. Going to save. No. And a quick load. I really don't like Glacier. I don't like Glacier, I don't like White Marshes. Three and a bit hours. Go back to the cairn. Should be able to make it to the tower? To the east. Big shelter in the abandoned watchtower. Travel. Easy. And we'll sleep here. Really not a whole lot we can do. We can try and convince... Like we're going to try and convince Gale Rocks, but that's really it. Like we can't... I'm at the point where I can't actually do anything for White Marshes or the Bandit Hideout. They're just going to have to die when the city comes in. We haven't spoken to Eudocia for a bit though. Straight into the house. Asterion dead. You describe your expedition, but she pays little attention, observing the ends of her hair. Just tell me what happened. Your vague answer is meant with a sad, yet accepting smile. Too bad he chose to die alone. Okay. Thanks, Eudocia. Alright, Gale Rocks. Still to learn more about the wares this village has to offer. Fulvia isn't any elder, am I right? You push a dragon bone into the sack on his neck. You are. She spent most of her young days and even some of the nights on the roads, chiefly on the path leading through the heart of the woods. Never got wounded, yet with years her eyes gave up. The right laughs when we feel safe. Okay. What kind of artisans can I find in the village? Only ones that would matter to a caravan, not to a traveller. We have the coopers, salters, smokers, who salt fish. Want a bow, go to Florist the Fetcher. Why do you need coins? Why don't you pay first? Okay, why do you need coins? Gale Rocks is good to me, but I've got no family left. I get merely as much food as I need, and not the good stuff. Like the head workers or the guards, just fish every day with greens and gruel. I'd rather buy some dried herbs once the merchants come, and ask the cooks to add some to my meals. You're gathering coins to buy dried herbs? You try to spot a lie in his eyes. You say it as if it's any different than drunks paying for mugs of ale, he growls. The right took away my hands, so I'll get my share of what's good in life any way I can, I bloody will. He looks at one of the apples growing on a nearby tree. A nice smell and togs wouldn't hurt me either. You can sell me decent stuff. Bathman, tailor, armourer. Alright. All stuff I already knew. Okay. Go to the head woman. Follow on inside. Try and make our case, and if it goes ahead, then that's us. Also, I need to eat something, because I am starving. Yeah, well. Inventory. Eat. Here we go. Turn. I'm ready to present my case against Glaucia to the council. So you say. Seravina moves away from the table slowly, and with a tired sigh stands up, though it doesn't make her much taller. After seeing the head woman's nod, the crossbow woman leaves her weapon leaning against the chair and runs outside. It will take a while before my granddaughter gathers everyone here. A few of the elders like to pretend she's not there. I'll pick up some berries with honey for us. She heads upstairs, followed by the unusual creaking of the plant. Perfumed guard approaches you with an awkward smile. Won't ask you to leave your blade in another room, but it would be impolite to face the council. Well, he points at your axe, like a thug. Here you go. Many sweetened berries later, the room feels crowded by comparison with your regular visits, even though there's less than 24 people spread around the benches or sitting in the stairs. You're told to sit down on Seravina's chair, facing the entire council. But now they're mostly ignoring your presence, chatting about the increasing frequency of gatherings such as this one. We're not getting any younger, darling, says an elder introduced to you as the previous head fisher, and Seravina responds to him with a smile warmer than any you've seen from her. That's alright, no one here gets older quicker than I do behind this desk, she responds, and the man chuckles. You've met some of them already, but the perfumed man is eager to announce every newcomer to you, dropping many names and the roles they're responsible for. Most of the elders are described to you by their past trades: artisans, overseers, fighters, and one storyteller. Drawing a lot of attention with her hoarse yet sonorous jokes, even the faces you recognise look different, wearing elegant tunics, robes and dresses, with jewellery that for once doesn't get in the way of their tiresome labour. Aside from them, there are a few younger people. The head salter, head cooper, head cook. Even though their backs are stronger, they seem more timid, not willing to interrupt the elders in their decades-old conversations. I observe the door, waiting for the last soul. Gasping for air, Photios runs inside, still buckling his belt, explaining that there was more work to do. No one seems surprised, and one of the other artisans pats his shoulder. Come, have a honeyed berry. His predecessor invites him loudly, but Seravina claps her hands a few times, encouraging everyone to take a seat. She stays at the spot just next to the desk, and for the first time you notice the subtle scent of violet flowers that surrounds her. We have rough hours ahead of us, we do, she starts. The Roadwarden wants us to reconsider the ties between our village and Glaucia's group. It's our group as well, the Fletcher chips in, and after the head digger scoffs, starting to respond, the head woman claps again. We ain't arguing right now, she runs her eyes over the crowd with a reprimand. Over this summer, we've all had a chance to present our views thoroughly. Let's allow the outsider to speak in peace, and once this is done, she meets your eyes, we'll open the discussion and move to the vote, so the officials of Hovlaven may know our answer before autumn. The puzzled looks and murmurs make you think not everyone here was aware of the scope of the topic at hand, but they don't get much time to express their discontent. So speak, outsider, will you? Shouts the old fisher, and the halls quiet down. I start with what I have already discussed with Seravina. You describe your search for the lost merchants and the bandits' willingness to act against the council's order. The response is mixed. Some observe you with disbelief, others with anger, but the first words you hear belong to Photios, the head fisher. I'm sure they had good reason. Reason or not, good or not, we need those tools, we do. And she takes them back south. Domitia, the cooper, raises her voice. We better learn how to make iron and spices out of thin air, adds one of the elders, but we won't see that caravan again. After a few minutes of back and forth, the head woman tells you to move on to the next thing, so that everyone has a broader understanding before they get bogged down by the details. Oh man, that's a lot of things. Okay. Even though Glausier's band knows only combat, they didn't move a finger to secure the tunnel in the south. It's no surprise to me that the wilds reclaimed these roads with such ease. Looking after the roads is harder than it sounds, stranger, starts the head woodcutter. We used to send dozens of souls every season or less, clearing and cutting. That ain't an easy task. Hearing that, you frown. You mention some of the deeds you are responsible on the eastern path alone. How is it I could do all these things by myself, while she has an entire group that's familiar with these woods, yet does nothing? The silence is cut by the absent voice of, Luno, the digger. She wants the wilderness, she does. I found this arrow at the place where Glaucier attacked the merchants. You know it well. It was meant to kill humans, especially humans. She's ready to hurt others for her gain. You raise it in front of your chest, walk around and let the elders take a look at the fletching, then place it on Seravina's desk. Hearing the infuriated voice of the old fisher, and what should she use? Rocks? She needs to defend herself, she does. Make others know she's to be feared. Perfume guard speaks up. No soul from our village would take such an arrow to merely wave it around. It ain't like the tribe's know-our spells. This arrow has only one purpose. No one is willing to argue with him, and after the silence is disrupted with an awkward grunt, you continue. The people of Old Pagos no longer trust you. You've lost a valuable ally. They call us thieves. Photios the fisher raises his hands in defense. We've done nothing to them. The perfumed guard sighs, giving you a sad look. After listening to the Roadwarden, I've no doubt Glaucier is to blame. She's a liar and a thief. One of the elders scoff. Without her in the woods, we would never have been accused in the first place. Now, after all them bandits got themselves killed by the city folk, every missing pie will be our fault. They argue for a few minutes, but it seems like most people are convinced there's only one possible thief of the statue. Glaucier's own people already see that she's going too far. I spoke with one of them and he left the band in secret. Once you finish describing him and his perspective, the locals seem confused. Could it be? One of the elders start, but Seravina raises her hand. Let's not name him at the moment. He tries to drop his past like... She looks at the ceiling, allowing Dematia to finish. Like a mere thug. Let's talk about him once the outsider scats, says the old fisher, and gives you a weird look, as if to make you vanish. Glaucier is putting the lives of others into danger out of fear of her. I tell them about Quintius. She threatened him? The Salter speaks with disbelief, but Seravina takes your claim seriously. If we were to speak with this man sometime in the future, are you sure his testimony would not reveal you to be a liar? Seeing your nod, an uncomfortable grumble spreads through the crowd. I can't remember who Quintius is. So many people. Which is great. It's the archive for my after journal. Humans. Quintius. Right, the gatekeeper. Cool. At least they protect the gate, one of the elders starts, but Fulvia waves it off. They could guard the gate on their own, if they were keen to do so. A brief quarrel was cut by the head woman, who gestures for you to go on. Asterion is no longer around, but he also recognized the threat presented by Glaucier. People are afraid of her. Eudocia, Layson... trade can't go on like this. What do we care about Asterion? You look for contempt in Domitia's eyes, but her question seems to be honest, and doesn't find a clear answer. Fools are afraid of anything that doesn't boil in their pot. Porcia, the cook, shrugs this topic off. When Glaucier and I were little lasses, she wouldn't even break a squab's neck. A few other anecdotes follow, but such as the one about her always caring for her appearance, but Rufina calls them to shut it. Don't speak of her as if she were a child. She's not the same. She went from tailor to bandit. Not even a mother to a leader. Haven't you talked with her in the last few years? She wears a different soul now. The locals exchange looks, and none of them argue with the tailor's statement. Both Creeks and Heldersdale are already willing to negotiate with Hovlevin. Don't let yourself stay behind. The hall falls silent, and the locals stare first at you and then at their headwoman. After a few moments, she turns towards them. What is there to say? The change will come, merely sooner than we had expected. We were fools to think we were the ones throwing the dice. No doubt your support for the bandits is justified. Why do most of your people have no right to know the truth about everything that Glaucia has done? She's far from just being a treasure hunter. One of the toothless elders chuckles. Oh, we don't merely hide things from them. We straight out lie. If the lion gets more votes. His voice drips with disdain. The Siravina silences him with her stare. More of them know than you think, outsider. She turns her head towards you, but don't expect all them workers to push away their families. When I moved here as a young girl, I saw my parents only 3 times before they died. Another elder looks at you reproachfully. At least I can see my boy every season or so, and he's not a murderer, and I will not apologize to him for anyone. Few people nod in agreement, while others observe their own boots. It's risky, but should followers of the right really provide support for a group of outlaws? Perfume Guard speaks first. Don't go there, outsider. He tries to sound firm, but one of the elders clamours over him. And what do you think you know about the River of Water, outsider? Suddenly you're met with questions testing your knowledge, and while you can answer some basic questions, you get shut down quickly. Okay. Right, so we've listened, we did, starts the old fisher, whose posture grows more lax the longer the gathering goes. But why do we trust what the outsider, he scowls at you, thinks of our matters? Siravina doesn't look at you, but her voice is gentle. Our neighbours see the Roadwarden as a guest, not as a stranger. We have no promises to make. All we have to do is decide if we're ready to speak with the city officials. The artisans haven't spoken with the Roadwarden about our trade, starts Albus the Salter. The city may see no point in sending their mouthpiece here at all. Borsia, the cook, mentions that from what she's heard at her diner, you didn't do much good for the villagers. Photios, the fisher, mentions that you could have used your help. One of the elders, Paulus's grandmother, mentions that you offered to her family. Luno, the digger, says that the day when the village may once again need to use the southern tunnel may be approaching quickly, and thanks to your help it won't take much effort. Perfume Man clears his throat. Alright, better to get to the discussion before we fall asleep. I vote a strong yes anyway. The news the Roadwarden brought us about all Pagos is enough to convince me. Come, Buta. He nods at you and heads towards the exit. Ooh, geez, they really just want me to hang out and help working, I guess. You follow the scent of clothes until the man closes the door behind you and you hear the thudding window shutters on the ground floor of the keep. As you approach the gate, the village seems more empty than usual, but the smoke doesn't stop coming from the buildings of artisans. There's no time to stop for work. The guard tells you to stay nearby, places his pillow on the stairs, and sits down. He observes you for some time, then takes out his usual knife and focuses attention on a new wooden log. Look at the object in his hands. What are you carving? He shows you what looks like a few tiny planks, already detached from the rest of the log, as well as 4 wheels caught in the centre. It'll be a wagon. Last time I made a wheeled fish. I'm good with wheels, he explains, giving you a warm yet sad smile. You've got a kid? I look at his wrinkles. A grandkid? He grins. Oh, I have quite a family, I do, but this one is for my daughter. Still new at crafts, but she ain't picky. You ask him how old she is, and his eyes seem both defeated and accepting. 30. She merely holds the soul of a child. She won't ever go to the hills, beach or forest, but has good imagination, she does. I used to give her simple toys, swords and figurines, but she would rather play with ones that can move, and wheels are the easiest for me. We spend some time chatting about his experience, and the time goes quicker. Every now and then, some sort of screaming or laughter reaches you from the keep, but other than that, the closed door and windows help you, or keep you without a clue. After more than an hour, both you and the man are called inside. The eyes inside the keep are tired, yet kind, and you catch a few smiles. The council sits on the benches with one of the elders napping, and some of the youngest members look longingly at the exit. The windows are once again open, but the air is still stale, in part because of the flower perfume. Giravina is standing behind her desk, leaning on the top, and welcomes you with a nod. You notice that many of her wax tablets have switched places, and half of them are open. The vote is done. Strong yes, she states solemnly. If Glaucia wants to remain one of us, she needs to bring her band here and stay free of robbery. We don't trust the officials and merchants, but your words and deeds are enough to make us eager to negotiate with them. Now, let's disband and eat something. I thank the council. Many of the souls thank you for trying to make a change, while others congratulate you. The old fisher, who found himself something stronger to drink, feels it necessary for him to take you to the side and explain that you shouldn't trust the guilds or priests anyway. You mostly nod, not entirely paying attention. Another elder pats your shoulder, whispering that you have quite the support here, but leaves before you can ask him what he means by that. The younger members of the council help the elders cross the yard, and as they engage in friendly chatter, they forget about the gathering quickly. The head woman stops before you follow their lead. There's one more thing, Buta, coming from her lips. Your name sounds strange to you. If you don't have to depart for Hovlevin just yet, can you pass our decision to Glaucia? What? No way, she's gonna kill me. And for nothing in return, I expect. She scowls at you, and what can I give you in return? I don't need any favors, just make sure everyone learns I'm useful. You won't buy fish merely with fame, she starts slowly, but then nods. I'll mention it as soon as the council of our elders and head workers. Great. Okay. We've got, what, 5 hours? Could get to the abandoned watchtower. Can't get to Glaucia's band from here. He must be wrapping up most of the quests. Yes, actually. Spy on White Marshes is the only one left. Okay, that came out alright, all things considered. Happy with that. Do we want to go to White Marshes and... go to White Marshes. Oh, it would anger Glaucia, but it may help me earn his trust to know where the highwayman's hideout is. He runs his eyes over your bundles, as if you're hiding the band there, then frowns. Well, you describe the old hamlet and the dangerous path leading to it. For a few breaths, you're not sure if he's even listening, then points at your chin with his blade. Why are you telling me this? My roads don't need any robbers, I want them to stay clean. Your roads, outsiders, maybe one day, after 10 years or so of washing them clean with your long tongue, he raises his chin. I'm grateful for your help. We'll see if you're a liar, and soon. Ugh, God, I hate dealing with you. No, fuck it, I'll reload. We'll go down to the abandoned watchtower, and rest there. And sleep. And sleep. Another day of muddy roads. I think that's about it. Honestly. We'll head up to Glaucia, but I don't think anything else is going to happen. To the bandits' hideout. To the hamlet. The Council of Gale Rocks held a meeting about cutting ties with your band. She freezes, and then looks at you with a puzzled frown, ceasing her healthy eye. A meeting? What are you talking about? You summarize the situation, and she looks at her boots, with her hands on her side. You're treading on shaky ground if you think I can't connect this whole thing to your recent arrival. You're responsible for what's going on. She meets your eyes, and the fury you find in her makes you step back. So why are you here? To beg for forgiveness or to bring the good news? From now on, don't count on the help of people from Gale Rock. You're advised to disband. She raises her eyes and puts on a glove. Brave of you to bring me the news in person. I appreciate that. She clenches her fist in a few times, then glances at the other woman from her band, then at you again, and lets out a sigh. I should kill you, outsider. You lowered my guard, and now I'm further away from my goal than I was last spring. She steps closer, looks at the palm of her four-fingered hand, now covered with leather, and after a few heartbeats, turns around. Don't ever get in our way again. I'll break your neck on sight. Farewell. Fuck off, she growls, her heavy steps accompanied by a constant sound of her heels and mail. Follow her to the pond. One of her men grabs the collar of your gambeson, pushing you towards the gate. That's the quests. That's all of them. Alright, approach Sodal. Want to go east. Yeah, angry shouts and grunts, then find two brown-furred goblins in a brighter tunnel. Their hairless faces with small eyes and large mouths are now turned towards you. They're a few steps apart, aiming at each other with a long stick and one with a club. Between them is a pair of deer antlers. I scare them away and grab the antlers. You get a bit closer with your mount towering over the beast. They exchange looks, let out a gurgle, then crawl away, giving you hateful glances. After they start to flee through the bushes, you jump on the ground and reach for your prize. Let's go. You leave. Cool. Got some antlers to sell. And sell that to Flocky at least. To the tavern. No, forget it. Okay, you don't want to buy it. Time for me to go. And back to Gale Rocks. Last thing to do would be to get Quintius to Elder's Dell. Headwoman, follow inside. Oh, I have nothing to say. Okay, cool. Quick load then. Travel. Okay, so we'll head down to Hellersdale, then back up to Quintius, then back to Pelt of the North and leave. And that will be it. Scare them away, grab the antlers, let's go. Cool. A boulder is sticking out of the pond only a few steps away from the bank. On top of it you see a human-like shell curled up with long feet leaning against the rock. The creature has a head taller than you, grey skin and no hair nor genitals. Its feet are webbed, the legs are disproportionately long, its yellow eyes with large black dots in the centre are as round and large as the bottom of a mug, yet and draw your attention away from the subtle nose and ears. Looking straight at you, holding in the long finger a raw fish. You made it stop in the middle of its next bite. I'm ready to defend myself. Right away. Cool. Cool. And that's away. West to the gate. Like you to open the gate. Maybe another time. Cool. Travel. And to Howler's Dell. I don't have time to chat. Main square, innkeeper. Nope, okay, they're not having any of it. That's everything. We'll travel to the power to the north, and that's it, really. Get off my horse and enter. Innkeeper. Do I have anything you'd like to buy? Yeah. Not too crazy about antlers, we have enough of them already. He rubs one of the titans with his thumb. Don't expect to see a trader chasing after such a cheap trophy on their wall. I'll give you a single meal for it. Deal. What else did you bring? Forget it. Show me your wares. Buy the ration. There's this gatekeeper, Quintus. Looks at a mug listening to your tale. So what do you expect me to do with him once he's here? He can handle... He's a brave, strong soul. He could assist your hunters on their trips. We use our wits and traps. Not so much brute force, but I guess you're right. A fierce fighter may be of use. He rubs his arms and reaches for a piece of roasted lizard. Bring him here. I offer him gruel in a corner to sleep, and I'll pay him once he helps us catch some worthy game. Okay, that's all I need. Okay, I got 4 hours to get there. That should be fine. Hey, about your duty. People in Gale Rocks are not going to support Gloucester any longer. Your role in the peninsula will dwindle. He looks around and reaches towards his bandage, raising it like a mask. Did you do this? You start to explain, and his voice lowers to a whisper. Don't bother. I don't follow all this anyway. All I need to say is that this land needed someone like you. Layson will help you. Will allow you to stay in his inn. He will even pay you after you help the hunters on one of the more vicious trips. He crosses his arms, still hesitant. Wouldn't it be more risky than this place, and I'd finally have time to rest a bit. But what before that? Am I to live on oats and water and rags? After a long pause, he lets out a weak sigh. Fine, I'll give him my things. Leave the gate open and get moving tomorrow morning. Paid enough blood for my duty. A long pause. But I'm now in your debt, and I'm ready to enter the woods to repay it. Find me if you ever need my help. You want me to escort you? Nah, no need. I'll stay away from the cursed tree and the ruins. Though, through paths you won't follow on horse. Thanks though. Cool, and off to Howlersdale. Main square, innkeeper, click. Free rent, baby. They wake you up with a punch to your face. You hit the floor, taking a few kicks to the stomach and one to the chin. A hand holds your shirt, a few others your legs and arms. They carry you downstairs, and you crash against every step. Blood flows down your nose. Try to kick someone, anyone. Ooh. Another hit has you choking on blood. You cough and gasp for air, and your skin rubs against the sand and pebbles. Not sure how much time passes before you're thrown into Howler's Creek. You want to curl up in pain, but you have to keep your head above the surface. The stream is shallow and cold, and you soon climb up the bank, soaking and shaking. You flinch when one of the guards step closer, but after he gives you a good look, he puts his hand on his side. This is his message delivered, he announces, and his group follows him deeper into the village. A few people are observing you from a distance, but your tired eyes don't recognize them. You somehow return to the dark entrance hall. Erix holds a candle and says nothing, but offers you a dry cloth. I walk by him and return to my spot. Go back to sleep with a knife in my hand. Yeah, fuck off, Thesis. I want the fucking tree. Hit you with an axe right now. Alright, leave. Whatever, I'm out of here. Travel. Into the inn. How are you, Warden? Good. faltered Tulia. He smiles and rests her ankle on her knees. Hey there. Nice acting, but I spoke with Klausia. You're working with her. Tulia glances at the innkeep and gestures for you to lower her voice. Come on now, it's the only pass through Hag Hills. Recently there's been a caravan with tools and spices that was taken by force to be sold for ransom. Someone told them to turn east, right into a bandit's trap. Want me to believe you bear no responsibility? And I give her a grim look and say nothing. You know him? She shrugs. We never spoke while his boss was around. He used to stand in the shadows observing the area, but I doubt he's harmless. You don't expect me to drag him all the way to the city, do you? Don't need any more loose tongues. Come on. Not so simple, she draws out her words. I wasn't looking for dragon bones or mead. Without Glaucia, my squad, she looks round as if to find her subordinates, would never be able to keep the valley passable. On the day of your arrival, she helped us get rid of a griffin that murdered 2 people this summer alone. Was I afraid of her threats? Sure, but she helped save lives too. I nod slowly. You didn't have a choice. I carry a share of the hard decisions on my shoulders as well. Thank you for trying to understand. Are you all packed and ready? She rests her hand on her knees, then straightens up. I am if you are. You look outside. It's early enough for you to reach the settlements on the other side of Hag Hills. Let's introduce you to Sodal. We're going to spend a lot of time together. The owners recognise you in the Bless the Empress Inn. You spend the night in a proper bed, holding a mug of steaming pigeon soup. That sounds... Pigeon can't taste that good, right? Does it just taste like chicken? Like, whenever I see a pigeon, it's like a flying rat. Anyway, this time Tulia pays for the stay. She's a good companion, willing to share the discomforts of the road and to kill boredom with an idle chat. The days fades away slowly. With Tulia by her side, you can't simply outrun the autumn predators, and a few times your journey gets violent. After all the fighting I did in the north, the road isn't too tough. After 2 days, the roads get wider and harder, and you meet the first patrol of soldiers, as well as spot the familiar stone statues honouring the old, now destroyed villages and almost forgotten tragedies. We're here, says the lieutenant in the last village you visit before reaching the city walls. Without explaining, she approaches a few red-haired farmers that are observing you curiously from the bench in front of their pit house. After exchanging a few words with them, Tulia gestures towards you. The Roadwarden is who should be thanked for finding him. The strangers keenly listen to your tale, then, with smiles clouded by grief, thank you for your bravery. Oh, Asterian's family, okay. A man who looks younger than the rest can't stop his tears once he hears his pa has been spared the cursed fate and found his end in flames. After a silent yet delicious meal, you resume your journey, carrying with you the names and invitation. Maybe I'll meet them in the spring. After taking care of some chores and meeting a few friendly faces, you leave your mount in the stables, which, as it often happens, are almost empty. Your eyes are used to the usual conglomerate of ruins, the makeshift huts and sheds, the restored whitewashed houses, and the few well-kept residences that managed to outlast the invasion. The streets are busy, with plenty of children and their young, working parents. Ovlevin may have been sick in the past, but it's healing patiently. You take your equipment to the backward corner. It's a bit pricey, but your friends at the Apple and the Boar will be happy to offer you a short stay. You listen to the rumours, but as the minutes go by, no one approaches you or asks you for help. The trade goes fine. You hear the city chief has a daughter now. The new ship is ready to sail. Taxes are coming. The beasts of the harbour keep bothering workers, but there have been no deaths recently. I remain watchful. Things are not as quiet as they seem. You ignore the growing drunken crowd, so familiar to you, and get a good night's sleep. You head downstairs and ask for the remains of the last day's supper, ibex stew, a piece of rat pie, and a mug of kefir. Listen to the Emperor's Mask, the hymn from the old times coming from the window. Ovlavin is returning to work. When the messenger shows up, you let out a sigh. The merchants want to see you in an hour. You spend some time at the public bathhouse and prepare the outfit you bought at Howler's. It will let you blend in with the elite crowd. On your way, the familiar faces spare you a few nods, but as always, the city folk stick to their own kin. Head to the guild quickly. I want to be done with this. After a few hours of exhausting examinations, you lean against the wall, observing the arguing leaders. Their jewellery and colourful fabrics could provide for many northern families, maybe even pay for a new stronghold. Aside from the chief and his most trusted advisors, the room is filled with members of the guild, though some of the more significant individuals did not deign to show up. At least you had more luck than that poor wretch, mentions one of the traders. No one here remembers Asterion's name. The news you brought from the island is of great value. You asked for something to clear your throat. Your detailed description of the peninsula made quite an impression, and you may be asked to speak with a cartographer later. And getting in touch with so many northerners helped you describe the complex web of connections. To fill the gaps in your report, you discussed the recent disappearance of a trading caravan, Eudocia's golem glove, and a few times you crossed the heart of the woods, the rumoured access from the coast. They're sheltered by the northern road, the now flooded mine in the south. Still, it's your dealings with the tribes that will have the greatest impact on their decision. Relax and wait for them to address me. The older soul at the table, who started her life in the guild as a simple innkeep, smiles at you. Where do you think we should start, Buta? What do you mean? One of the artisans chips in. We need to discuss this in detail, of course, but we can't bring guards and builders to all the villages at once. Since you know the peninsula better than anyone, where do you think the best starting points is? I reckon creeks, simply because I live there now. Creeks. A clerk puts a wax tablet on top of a pile, then opens another one, letting out a long sigh. I keep writing the peninsula. Does that place have any name? There's only one I can think of. How would you call peninsula? How would I call it? I just call it the Tribelands. No. Yeah, Tribelands. Tribelands. After 3 days, you take part in a brief meeting in the guild's chambers. You're welcomed by a few council representatives. We're going to move forward with the investment. You finally hear your services are much appreciated. You return to the street with a wooden casket under your shoulder, but the dragon bones inside don't really impress you. The fancy outfit could use some new jewellery. It's time for me to tell the guild why they can't reject my candidacy for membership. The flow of merchants, soldiers, explorers, and suppliers brought many strangers to the north. While some of the tribes tried to stay independent, they couldn't resist the temptations of new inventions, crops, and security. After a few generations, the sparse settlements were indistinguishable from the other regions of the province. Safe roads, strong walls, and regular visitors. While the trade route was focused on the eastern trail, Pelt of the North gained quite a lot from the Roadwarden's visit, allowing the innkeep to purchase steel traps for large game. A few years later, the inn was sold to the city officials and remained one of the few shelters in the dangerous north. One of the new guards was Tulia, who arrived to the Pelt soon after losing her squad, seeking stable work. Oh, my leg's cramping up. Seeking stable work among the hunters. After banishing Thasus and limiting the influence of the village guards, the druids led Hellersdale by themselves, drifting further away from the customs accepted among the 10 cities. They allowed the caravans to ride through the village and exchange wares, but had little interest in growth. Lacking in resources, the village could never limit its reliance on other villages. For the most part, the gates kept the priests, bards and drifters away, and so the next generation continued to pray to their ancestors. However, as the other villages grew in power, the significance of their formerly richest village in the north dwindled. Aegidia never forgave the sins of her neighbours. Afraid to face her mother, she decided to leave the peninsula in spring, forming a group of adventurers who are eager to save innocent lives, even without pay. While she couldn't reverse the destruction of Steep House, her noble deeds helped her spend her nights in peace. Steep House stood in silence, avoided by the caravans that cut a new path through the haunting clearing. Before it faded away, the people of Hellersdale placed a humble stone statue of a tree torn by lightning on the paved square. While expressed regret, they have never avowed their authorship. The old tribe of Pagos lost many lives to the plague, but the supplies brought to them by their friends from Gale Rocks helped them overcome the harsh winter. Thanks to the revitalized trade route, locals returned to their craft, providing an essential material to the now growing security of the northern roads, and settlements which the tribe kept their savings for darker days, which they were sure would come sooner rather than later. Tertius stayed in the village but rejected the further responsibilities of a leader, returning the power to the elders. She spent a few years patrolling the roads until, wounded by a werebadger, she became a combat instructor. Quintus eagerly joined his friends at Pelt. His next years were full of brave hunts and drinking, until he mixed the two a bit too much, barely escaping a runner. With the help of his companions, he began his path towards maturity. While Hovlavin wasn't eager to directly support the monks, the easier access to supplies almost allowed them to finish the work on the library in stone. However, their poor planning led to a disaster. After a violent earthquake, the mountain collapsed under its own weight, burying many souls alive. Oh, that's awful. Okay. White Marshes, facing growing pressure from the soldiers and inquisitors, buried any routes that connected it with the rest of the peninsula. Troubled yet isolated, it collapsed after Arentius' sudden death, becoming the largest fortress of the undead in the north. After years of waiting, the growing strength of one of the skeletons gave it a human-like mastery of Numa. This mage began a short campaign against the tribes and caravans, feeding on their blood. But facing the fierce opposition of Hovlavin soldiers, it was pushed into Hag Hills, forced to wait for the logs to come. Poorly guarded Foggy Lake was among the first places taken over by the wave of undead coming from White Marshes. The fire that occurred during the break-in consumed the entire hamlet. Damn. Thanks to the new supplies gained through trade, the children of creeks grew in strength and comfort. The guild brought experienced tanners and fur makers with them, helping the locals mimic the techniques of the masters, but also discouraging any ambitions of farming and fishing. After a decade, the village was completely dependent on purchasing supplies from the outside, and soon after, it learned that it could get the help of city architects, if, of course, the tribe agreed to building a small chapel of the rite, and welcomed the priest who would just love to run it. Hilo quickly realized that keeping the roads safe was a much better way to earn dragon bones than selling his crooked chairs and tables. While he wasn't a fighter, he often joined the merchants traveling the peninsula, exchanging news and suggesting new investments. In the meantime, he gladly engraved the shapes of animals on cups and plates. Ephron, shaken by what had happened to his friends, spent a few years traveling with caravans and learning from other tribes about more efficient, disciplined ways of organizing hunts and foraging trips. While it wasn't easy for him to influence his family, his efforts saved many lives of the younger generations. The people of Gale Rocks needed little, and after selling the excess of fish and salt, they received enough crops and tools to prosper, sticking to their familiar edge of the world in the years to come. Their days were good and, for the most part, remained the same. Though with difficulty, the road leading through the heart of the forest was restored, maintained by the combined efforts of soldiers and the locals. While she no longer had her tribe's support, Glaucia kept raiding the people of White Marshes, but once her supplies ran short, she got reckless and after a few seasons was killed by a lucky arrow. Eudocia agreed to do some work for the city folk, earning a great amount of luxurious wares, but since every request she got was a variation of making a weapon even more lethal, the boredom of her repetition started to push her to her limits. She sought joy in her own project, sharpening her senses with snakebait day after day until her heart stopped beating a year later. Soon her residence became occupied by the soldiers of Hovlevin, who made nothing of the stone sentinels. Cephas and Gian of the tribe of the Green Mountain were surprised to learn of the diplomats at the gate to their village, arriving with a small token of Hovlevin's goodwill. However, after agreeing on the borders of the peninsula that ought not to be crossed, city folk sometimes tested the tribe's patience. After a few decades, the caravans coming to the peninsula faced a great threat, a mad unicorn capable of merciless charge at an entire group of fighters. The desperate soldiers sought help from the tribe, and after receiving it, the ties between the two communities tightened, giving a start to a careful but much appreciated trade deal. Uta, the Roadwarden of tribal lands, spent the next few decades spreading their influence slowly, using their connections to exchange favours with the leaders of the tribes in the guild. Their grasp was strong but didn't go too far, and they left the games of manipulation before anyone untangled their mysteries. End of game. Oh, that's cool. Oh, that was great. I'm very happy with that. Things could have gone better with like White Marshes. It's unfortunate that the undead outbreak destroyed Fockies, but what else? I feel like Heller's Dell could have been handled better, but wasn't quite sure how everything with Thasus was going to play out. What I wanted was someone who shared Thasus' ideals but not her sociopathic tendencies to take over, but no, it was just someone a lot nicer but also a druid, which doesn't help given we want to spread the influence of the city. But that's all for Roadwarden. Tomorrow is Grandia, and the day after will also now be Grandia. I'm going to start looking for something else to stream on off days when I'm not playing Grandia, because yeah, I don't really know if I want to do Grandia constantly every day. But we'll see. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye bye.